Thank you so much for joining us, Jordan. Couldn't do it without you.
Glad to be here.
So we're going to demonstrate some movements that require quite a bit of strength and body connection. I think that there's some kind of a confusion sometimes with reference to what being strong really means. The ability to move in one piece, the ability to move in a coordinated manner is paramount to really being able to express the body's fullest potential. And I can't think of an exercise that better represents that than the plank. So we're going to go right into the exercise. I'm going to ask you to go on to all fours. And actually we'll start from this position because this is where it all begins from. In a neutral position, not a rounded and not a extended, his hands are directly underneath the shoulders. The fingers also play a part. Depending on what surface you're on, you may actually be able to articulate your fingers a bit and give a little bit more stability to the wrist by grabbing and slightly articulating, and you'll notice that your wrist becomes a lot stronger. And this is very important, especially when we're talking about doing things over time. Engage the abdominal so that this section of the body is now strong and in one piece. The chin is dropped slightly and you're looking down to the floor, and now you can see that this part of the body has now become almost like a girder. Keeping this integrity, I'm going to ask you to extend one leg behind you, and you're going to rest on the ball of the foot, engage the quadricep, pull your heel back, and now you're almost there. At this point, he has weight on 3 points, and we're going to make that final transfer to put the weight on 4 points. So stretch the opposite leg back, engage the legs, squeeze the butt, squeeze the abdominal, chin stays down, and now you're locked in. Now, you're doing the plank for a certain period of time. And while you're in the posture, you do work in the posture. You're actually checking all of these things during the entire time that you're seemingly motionless. There's a lot going on in the body dynamically, even if you're not moving. So I'm going to bring your attention to his legs and ask him to really pull his heels back. And if you can notice, the integrity already changes and it becomes something a lot more solid. I'm going to also ask him to contract his buttocks on purpose, bringing the muscles towards the tailbone. I can't contract it for you. It's not ethical. And as he starts to shake a little bit, you can see, and he's a very strong guy, that even after only having been here for maybe 40 seconds, you know you're alive. So take a break, bringing your knees down and relax. That was very good. The duration of the exercise is a personal thing. You give yourself something that's a realistic goal, and then you challenge yourself accordingly. I believe in doing 3 sets of exercises. The number 3 is very powerful when it comes to training the body. So the first time that you get into the plank, if you're a beginner, say 20 seconds to 30 seconds, is enough time for you to check over the body and see the alignment that you have to maintain and stay in the posture long enough to get a training effect. The second time you get into the posture, you should be a little bit more familiar with what you're going to do. And so you should be able to maybe acquire the posture quicker and possibly stay in the posture longer. The third time you get into the posture, that's when you're going to expect things from yourself. You're going to get into that posture and you're going to lock it out, and you're going to really try and stay in there to the best of your ability. I would say that if you're really ambitious, you try to work up to being able to stay in the position for 3 minutes. And it's like you hear, ooh, 3 minutes. 3 minutes is a very long time, okay? And that's considered, as far as I'm concerned, to be advanced. But it's just giving you a goal, something that you can move towards. It's not absolutely necessary. You will definitely get a training effect from being in the position less time than that. Let's go back to the plank again, and then I'm going to point out some things regarding the breathing. So as he draws himself back into the posture, and as you noticed, it was a lot smoother for him to get into it because after having done it once, his nervous system has a better understanding of what the posture is, how to get in and how to get out. While he's in the position, I'm going to draw his attention and your attention to the breathing. When at all possible, keep the mouth closed. When at all possible, keep the breath silent. Try to control the breathing and bring it in as deep and as long as possible. It's a duration-based exercise, so you want to keep the breath under control to manage the stress that you're going to undergo in the posture. So the more you can manage the breath, the quieter you can manage the breath, the deeper you can breathe, the more you're able to maintain the posture and the more you're able to change your body in the posture. So I would ask him to think about sending the breath from the top of the lungs all the way through the heels as he's in the posture, and this will give him the mental resolve to be able to control the posture more. Safety. Be very careful that you do not allow your hips to drop below a straight level. I'm going to just ask him to drop it down to let you see what not to do. You don't want to become a banana. So if you find yourself sinking down, it's probably time for you to take a break and begin and do it again. So that's one indicator that you've reached a level of fatigue that is now telling you to stop doing the exercise. Some people advocate lifting the hip a little higher to be able to compensate for the hip dropping. I do not advocate doing this. The whole point of doing the plank is to get you to be in a posture where your integrity is a certain way. That the legs are lengthened, the abdominal is engaged, the buttocks is engaged, and you're in this working position. We use this position for pushing, we use this position for pulling. And so I don't want you to get into a posture that is not going to be in line with what you can use in real life. You don't want to push anybody with your hips jutting backwards. You want to push in one piece. And so you want to remind your body in the posture how to be. Go back into the plank position. And now we're going to have a little fun with Jordan and see how tough he really is. He's going to shift from the standard plank, straighten the legs, I see you, into a side plank, trying to stack one leg on top of the other on the edge of the feet, pushing the hips slightly and drawing the arm up. Careful not to hyperextend or to bring the shoulder. If I bring the arm back, I'll compromise the shoulder. Sometimes you can look up the pipeline with your eyes and you can check your alignment if you don't have a mirror. He's doing a very good job and I don't want to fatigue him. So go back into your normal plank and then roll into the opposite side plank. Again, the breath plays a part in your movement, and every time you move, you breathe, and every time you breathe, you move. And then roll back into your normal plank, and then roll open again. And I want you to do another 2 times on each side for a total of 3 times on each side. Now, there are many variations. You don't have to do 3 times. You don't have to do the movement as quickly. You can stay in the posture a little bit longer, depending on what you feel you need to work on. If you feel you don't have a strong side plank, then you may desire to stay in the side plank longer to get the stability that you need. So I'm going to ask him to hold the last one so we can point out some of the particulars and so we can torture him a little bit further. Okay, so he's smiling. You can't see it, but he really likes this kind of thing. So I'm going to ask him to draw his hips slightly forward towards me, squeeze the buttocks, keep the breath long, and push down, which he's doing a very, very good job of, and now come out of it and rest. Very good. Nothing else to say. Let's move right along. Push-ups, or as I like to call them, press-ups, I find that calling them push-ups, right away there's a whole anxiety field surrounding a push-up. Why do we have to do push-ups in the first place? Well, I'm glad you asked. Push-ups are a way of reinforcing the ability of the body to be able to push correctly. When you're standing and able to engage and push, even if it's opening a door or pushing a shopping cart, you want to be able to do that in proper alignment, and you want to be able to do it in a way that does not compromise your lower back. And so a push-up is a wonderful thing because it really teaches you how to maintain the body's alignment, strengthening everything in that chain while doing the very action that you're going to need to do over and over and over again. I'm sure that throughout the course of our day, it's really hard for us to get through a day without pushing something. Okay? So I'm going to ask you to get into the plank position, and now we're going to go into a press-up. With the legs straight, the buttocks contracted, and the abdominals contracted, keep the eyes looking down so as to keep the neck long and not compromise the integrity of the cervical spine. I want you to inhale down as far as you're comfortable and exhale and push up. I want you to do the movement 3 times. If you find that you're having difficulty with the movement, don't go as far down. It isn't how far you go down, but how well you go down. And you will build strength very quickly by just going down a few inches and take a break. I'd rather see you go down a few inches with proper alignment than go all the way down without proper alignment because it defeats the purpose.